This is Your Ultimate Life Podcast with Joy Fluckiger.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Your Ultimate Life, the podcast dedicated to helping you create the life you want. I call it a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy, and I have my co-host, Joy, here with us, who's always full of joy. So, Joy, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you. I like being a co-host. I'm not just a guest. You know, on television shows, they would have like these guest starring, and they're like every week. So I think there was something to do with how they're either like paid or where they appear on the credits as to what constitutes a guest star and maybe a co-host in this kind of sense. So calling myself
there
a
is.
co-host.
I was talking to somebody that knows about that. It might have been Peter Weiner. It might have been Peter Weiner who was telling me about the hierarchy.
Right.
You know, there's series regulars and there's co-stars
right?
and there's special guests. You know, they have a
guest. Yeah, exactly.
Special guest stars and co-stars, and there's there's a very clear pecking order about how that works.
You know, Kellan, we found that out when we were doing our television show, on demand and network TV, most importantly, in terms of what comes first. So like an executive producer, you think, oh, an executive producer isn't necessarily as much cachet or authority as a producer. Because isn't the executive producer like they're the money backer, but a producer has more day-to-day on hand, hands-on experience with the show. Is that correct?
I think so. I think the executive producer doesn't get involved in the actual production.
Exactly.
The one that actually does all the day-to-day stuff's the director.
Well, the director, of course. Yeah. And then the other one, though, which is interesting because that was my role, is in the production part of it.
Production designer.
Production designer, yeah, because you know you're setting up the scenes, the set dressing, who's wearing what, where you're sitting, what you're sitting, all that kind of stuff that goes into production design. Like that is an extremely important role, and I'm glad to have filled that.
Yay for you.
For season 2, which will be coming out soon. I know we keep promising season 2 is coming out, but we haven't established an actual date for that. The television station network has moved into offices in Hollywood, right on Hollywood Boulevard in the Directors Guild building. So we do have an office there, which is very exciting. And, you know, we're going to start shooting season 2.
We are. And this is a good time to do an invitation. The first series, the whole series is called Creatives Save the World. Yep. And we're going to keep that title for a while.
I love that title.
I think it's a great title. So anyway, Creatives Save the World. And I picked that title, or we did, because it represents an idea. And the idea that is this: we got our world where it is, with as much struggle with diversity and inclusion, as much struggle with wars, as much struggle with, you know, prejudice and all the things, and economic turmoil and everything else. We got there because we aren't creative. We haven't been very creative. We've been greedy. We've been innovative in many ways and created lots of stuff, but we haven't really adopted that same level of creativity towards solving problems. Because if we had, we wouldn't have poverty and hunger, we wouldn't have dirty water, and we wouldn't have literacy issues and stuff like that. Those are all solvable problems.
Doesn't it also have a sense also of like creative save the world, a bit of superpowerism in that? When you think of the superpowers and these heroes, it kind of evokes in me like these kind of emotions like creatives save the world. You think of music, you think of visual arts, movie, creative save the world.
I totally get it. And that's why we picked that title. So we did season 1, and it was out a year ago. It was 10 episodes. You can get it on Traverse TV, TraVerse TV. And Joy will put the URLs in the show notes. Traverse TV. And they are expanding. They have one actual UHF station in Orlando, which covers a big area, 6 million households, and they're working on getting channels in major cities, Phoenix and I think Chicago, New York, and LA.
Yep.
And they're on the schedule, and I don't know when they're going to come, so I'm not going to make promises because it's not my network. But they have asked us to get busy on season 2, so we are going to do that. I've already...
And sorry, like that's not just on demand, like, it's a network TV station too. Like you turn your television on, switch to a channel, and there it is. So that is, to me, it's like a whole different ball game. So
It is. And when I produced those, they had to be exactly, fit exactly 30 minutes and leave a certain amount of space for commercials and have commercials in them. And,
which
there's
you've
very
done.
precise. Yeah, I did all that.
And not only that, you're also asked to do other shows commercials too. So you know what? I mean, do they give Emmy awards for commercials?
I don't know.
Well, they give something. So, I mean, they're on Super Bowl stuff, all those ads. So, and it's big bucks in advertisement. That's for sure. Especially.
Well, I have been asked, and the network owners did like the commercials that I did for me, and they asked me to do several commercials for others.
I know. We got to put that on your little checklist of stuff Kellan's done, commercials for other people. Well, it is impressive.
Television. I mean, it's what's called linear TV. Linear TV is where you have a schedule, 11 o'clock, 11:30, 12. Yeah. Linear broadcasting as opposed to on demand, which is everything online. And everybody thinks everything's online now. And it is. Traverse TV is online, but it is also a linear TV station.
Yes.
And those broadcast towers I was talking about are going to also be linear.
Well, and, more to the point, anybody can be on demand really today. And it's it's harder to get onto a network show, much harder. So good on you. Yay.
Well, today we're going to talk about, we're going to move forward in talking about monetization. Last time we talked about Pinterest. We talked about using AI for different things. Last time Joy was on.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic.
And she'll talk more about that too, I'm sure.
I could go on for hours talking about AI and why you need to do it and social media really, I could just.
Well, you were just showing me before we recorded this episode. You dragged me into your office and said, look at this. And you showed me some new cool stuff about posting. And I was impressed. I mean, it's just so cool.
Well, cool. You know what the coolest part is that I just typed into this software. I've said it, I think, in the last show notes, called Follower, FOLLOWR.ai. I just typed in a URL and I said, okay, I want to generate 6 posts that I'm going to put on Instagram or whatever platform you want to put on from this URL. So it reads the information on the URL and it created 6 posts for me, like picture, square, ready to go, hashtags, the URL. All I had to do was just click on save and then publish. So the key to that is I'm going to publish these every 2 hours. I set it up. So now, 2, 4, 6, 2 hours apart. And what did that take me? 2 minutes, maybe? I mean, as long as it took me to type in the URL and press the button, it's that simple. Because if you're struggling with what ideas do I come up with, how do I do this, this program, I mean, maybe it's not like, $1 million content copy, but it's good enough to get you noticed. And
here's the thing:
to be noticed.
Most people don't do this stuff because they don't have time. And so they're saying, I don't have time. And then if they go and say, well, it has to be perfect or I'm not going to do it, then your choice is don't do it or don't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to don't do it. And even if it's quite good, it's not terrible by any stretch.
It's good.
Yeah, it's very good. Yeah. And you know what I want you to do? I'm mentioning this here in this episode, but Monday when we have our group coaching, I need you to be on you are usually, but I need you to be on there and I need you to talk about that program because we have two people on there that are struggling with time about getting posts and thinking of them. And this thing about URLs, which I didn't know it did until you're now telling me right now, will really save them and you'll be a magical thing.
And it's not just a URL because you're thinking, well, I don't really have my website set up or I don't have whatever it is. The cool thing with this is you can say, okay, what's the latest news on blank topic? Let's say, painting my house, coaching children, whatever the topic is. You can ask it to say, go to Google and find me this topic or this idea. You can brainstorm with the AI and say, well, I have an idea about this. You can ask a question and it'll give you those responses. So you don't even have to think up of what to think up of questions. You just type simple sentence and it does all the work for you. I was like, you know what? The best thing was a lifetime of this lifetime deal, $76 US.
Wow.
Oh, I mean, if you guys don't get this, you're nuts. There, I said it. It's a game changer, especially for those of you who are struggling or wondering how, I listen to Gary Vaynerchuk every day. So Gary Vaynerchuk's always saying, get 20 up, 20, 24. I did 20 yesterday and it took me 20 minutes, maybe 20 minutes to get 24 posts up across 6 different platforms. And that's repeatable. 20 minutes of your time? Come on.
Amazing. So I put Love Coach Sign 'em up on the screen. And the reason I did is this. Love Coach Sign 'em. It's a challenge we're running next week. This episode won't be live until after that challenge is over. Go there anyway, because we're going to run another one and another one.
Exactly.
Yeah. And here's who this is for. And you're going to be surprised. Love Coach Sign 'em sounds like we're only for coaches. And that's what it's designed for. But here's an experience I just had. I just got off a lunch club call with a lady who's an attorney. She retired from being an attorney 15 years ago or something. She was an employment litigation attorney in New Jersey or something. And now she works full-time at a college, and her work there is helping the students network because she said the pandemic has had such a profound effect that the kids going to college right now don't know how and don't want to network. And so they have these meetings set up where they bring in alums, like a friendly audience, to just get to know them. And she said the mistakes the kids make, they just blather about themselves. Somebody walked in the room and said, who's here in this area, my area of interest? Nobody? Okay, I'm leaving. Took some food and left. Like they have no concept, not only of one, the value of a network, and two, how to do it. And they are so scared. And so here was the interesting thing. She and I had a conversation for 15 or 20 minutes of our lunch club call, which is usually 45. We went an hour. And I was explaining to her, guess what? The content, the 4 steps in Love Coach Sign 'em. And I told her it was for coaches, but I also told her it sounds to me like it applies to your thing. So we went over the 4 steps, and it has to do with anyone who wants to learn how to make connections, make contacts, create friendships, create business partnerships, create referral partners, and on and on and on. And it was amazing how easily it dovetailed right into what she was describing as the problem.
Yeah.
So if you're not a coach, but you still have to find clients, or you want to learn how to network, or you want to learn how to create relationships.
Right.
Get your butt to this URL and join the next one, which will probably be in April. Because here's the thing. This lady does this for a living. She's a pro. The college has hired her full-time to run this Office of Student Networking or something. I don't remember exactly what it was called.
She needs to get you there.
She
something.
was blown away.
Yeah.
She does this for real. And I gave her these steps, and I gave her the examples of, step 2, first contact, and the aliens in the White House and the whole 9 yards. And I don't have time to give you the stuff here on the episode, but go to the URL and join me. She was blown away. She was blown. She's like, okay, I've taken notes of your 4 steps. And I said, each one of these has not a million, but a bunch of sub-bullets and parts.
Kellan, and she really needs to get you in there.
Fixated on the nurturing part.
Where's her school? Where's she at?
She's in New Jersey. Yeah, somewhere in New Jersey.
She needs to get you in, talk to those kids. Because, it's really interesting when you get that completely different perspective, especially someone who's really good at it like you are. And you learned it, though. You weren't a born networker.
I hated it. Do you remember even in the beginning of our business when we went to that big networking event at that resort up in the north of the river in Phoenix, and it was on the next to or on the reservation, the Pima reservation. And I went in there and I was so uptight and, we were talking to somebody we had then as a coach and I went in there trying to be authentic and real and I didn't know how. And I met one or two people or something. Like I can remember that. And that was now, 12 or 13 years ago, but like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And how I did not know what to do, how to do it. And exactly the mindset I had and what I was worried about and what I was focused on and what I was thinking. And I was buried in the Witot fungus, what I think others think. I told her about that too, WITOT, and she thought that was funny.
Well, Kellan, I think because you came from a corporate background, like you were a C-suite executive. So you didn't really have to, network with, other people networked with you because other people wanted to meet you. You were the big dog and people were courting you for various things. So you didn't really have to go out there and how do I talk to this person? They were on the other side thinking to themselves, now, how do I talk to this Kellan guy? Maybe they had a coach of how to network and that, because that's real life. So you weren't on that side and now being on the other side. So you can go full circle and easily communicate and teach these skills to other people because it is a skill.
It is, and I told her that I wasn't born with it. And when I got to the other side, you're right. When I held those positions, people were falling all over themselves to get my attention.
Exactly.
But when I started this business, I didn't know how to do that at all. I sucked at it. I was terrible.
Yep.
Because I didn't have the trappings of automatic coolness.
Well, and that's an important point, that automatic coolness that we think that we take from one position. Some skills you do, of course, but not all of them. And some some of new ones you got to learn. Sales or marketing or network, all those kinds of, and I think we dovetail really nicely because we each have a strong set of skills. Like you can communicate really well and drill down ideas into simple sentences where I would take lots of words, too many notes, as Mozart would say.
Well, what I noticed in your office there, as I said to you, I said, well, my whole future's in your hands. So I want to get to a particular topic that we alluded to last time as we ended that session.
And I forgot about it too. I thought, what did we allude to?
Yeah, well, we talked about why podcasting. Now, I've got a client who's an artist right now that has it, it appears occasionally on podcasts, but he wants to start a podcast and he's talked to me about different ideas about how to do it and this and that and the other. And, he's easy to have a conversation with, although you've got to get used to his pacing because it's quite slow and interesting. But we were talking about how to make money. How do you do something with it? And so that's what we were going to talk a little bit about today, is about monetizing podcasts, about calls to action, about the things you're learning about marketing, and using this platform. So a podcast is a particular platform, and it used to be audio only, and now it's mostly video, but there's video plus audio because there's some people that go on runs or listen on the way to work or whatever.
Apple Podcast.
Yeah, most people are not making any money with their podcasts.
Right.
At all. And we used to be like that, and we are not.
Right.
And we have worked to figure out how to, and we've gotten good instruction and belonged to masterminds and tried not to reinvent the wheel. But we're going to talk a little bit about what are the important requirements to have people, because know, like, trust is important. People have to trust you, and otherwise they won't do anything. You won't get any sponsors. They won't go do this. Like I put this Love Coach Sign-In URL on the screen, but the whole conversation about coaches and about its applicability to many things was to give you an idea of where it might apply in your life so that it would benefit your business, your growth, and creating your ultimate life. So what are some other ways, since you have become our resident expert at monetizing or getting people to join your list? Because monetizing isn't just cash. It's getting on the list. It's getting in the orbit. Yeah. Right?
Well, I think one of the key things is I would say for the most part, 90 plus 95, whatever the percentage would be, is that people want to make money from their podcast. And, you have a particular topic, you have a particular subject matter, and what do you do to monetize your podcast? One of the key things is people think that they can't sell from their podcast. but you can sell a high ticket offer directly from your podcast. Now, that doesn't mean it's immediately, hey, I'm, co-host, buy my stuff. It's not that. But what you do have is you have a clear call to action at the end of your episode. So, for example, in your intro, many people, when you listen to like some of the really good podcasts that have really good intros, they have their call to action in there. Hey, I'm so and so, and if you want to, if you're struggling with monetization or you're struggling with finding clients, join the blah 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 and get your free download of to get X, Y, Z. And so you have that quick blurb at the beginning. That's a call to action. You want somebody to do something. At the very end of your podcast, you can repeat something similar but shorter, because a lot of times people don't listen to the very bitter end. Now, in your show notes, because you do need to produce some show notes, you have that same call to action in there. And so you got to think of a call to action. A call to action is something that I want my listener to go do. Now, when you're on a podcast, you have to think of in terms of what I want to get somebody's email address, because otherwise, how are you going to communicate with people? You need to get them on an email list. If you don't have one, you better start one. So you want to get them onto an email list. Now, you want to entice someone to give them your email and your name, and then give them something in exchange for that. Now, I know we talked a little bit about this last time, but on a podcast, whether it's video or audio, you want to give them something that makes sense in the form that they're consuming your podcast already. So if they're watching it on YouTube or listening to it on Apple or Spotify, they would probably appreciate an audio or a video piece. I'm on a podcast. Do I want to get an ebook as a freebie? Probably not, because my preferred method of consuming a podcast is either watching it on YouTube or listening to it on one of the platforms. So it takes some thought to think of what would be an appropriate lead magnet, and that is the thing that you give someone in exchange for their email address that would be valuable to the listener. Now, this podcast is Your Ultimate Life, and we talk about things that we call it, Kellan calls it a triple helix, where you use your natural gifts and talents, your existing skills, and your life experiences to create and craft the life that your dream life. So many people say it in so many forms, but that's really the essence of how we've described it, a triple helix. You don't have to go start changing everything you're doing or whatever you are about. But then the gift would be for yourultimatelife.ca would be a video series on the first steps to take to create your ultimate life. Now, of course, when you're crafting something that's for a monetization point, you've got them on the list because they said, hey, you know what? I'd like that gift. So now you can start to reach out to them and give them more valuable stuff. So here's a mistake that a lot of people get. And I actually noticed this mostly on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like, hey, I like to meet cool people. Let's connect. And so you say, okay. Then the very next message is what? Hey, I've got a free ebook. Hey, I've got a video series. Hey, can you do this? They want something from you. And that just really bugs me, because it's like, so you don't really want to know me. You just want to sell me some crap. And I'm not saying we don't want to sell people stuff either, but it's not, I want to sell you something. Is this going to be valuable to you? So you get on the list. You don't bombard them with now, hey, buy my crap. You send them valuable stuff that you think that they would like to enjoy, because they want to create their own ultimate life using their existing skills, their natural gifts and talents, and their life experiences. You send them a video. Maybe you do send them a checklist or a cheat sheet or something that they can download and consume and check something off. Kellan said to do this. I've done that. Check. And you keep sending people stuff. Now, we have events that we have going on. So maybe every 8th email or 10th email, you send them saying, look, I don't know if this is something you might be interested in, but I'm having this event. thought you might like to know, we're going to cover these things that we're already give you little tidbits about, but if we go more in depth. So ideally, that would be the next step that somebody would take, because they're on your list. You're sending them emails regularly. You're reeling them in slowly. They're getting to know you, and maybe they're not, but whatever. But if you don't do that, you're never going to know. Maybe they'll join one of your challenges. And then from there, they're going to experience you for 5 days. And if they join a VIP, they get more time with you, but time with you, because your time is expensive. You're an expensive coach. And then, then from there, it's like, okay, maybe do you want to take the next step? We have a group coaching program you might be interested in. So, that takes time to build. But if you don't build it, it's obvious, they're not going to, that old, what was that, Kevin Costner movie?
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah,
right.
If you build it, they will come. Well, okay, but you have to build it and you have to make it accessible. And a podcast is a perfect opportunity to do that. Now, that's one piece, but you have to have an audience for that. So what do? You talk about your podcast. You make, like I said about this follower, constant posts using AI about your podcast. Would you like to be a guest? Hey, we've got this giveaway. We've got some ideas. You have a podcast website. We do. It's on Podpage, yourultimatelifepodcast.com. And people can sign up to get more information about the podcast. They can sign up to they can subscribe to our YouTube channel. They can watch the episode instead of just listen to the episode. They can apply to be a guest, because we're always looking for interesting people who want to be a guest on the podcast. And, so but you got to start. The other key thing, and this is really important, is if you have a podcast and you don't have to have a blog on your website. But what you do is you join Medium. You take your podcast episode, you can put it through some AI, like a transcript, create an article from that, and upload it to Medium. Medium gets a lot of juice from Google. So Google likes to see all those Medium articles. And that's where you can get a lot of also audience on your podcast. The other thing is to be a guest on other people's podcasts. You got their audience. You got a whole other world. So be a guest on as many podcasts as you like. We charge a production fee to be a guest on our podcast because we put a lot of work into it. Some people don't. Some people say, well, I don't want to pay an appearance fee. Good, because this isn't an appearance fee, but it is a business for us. It's a component of our business that we have to pay people to create things for us. So, but here's one thing we do, and a lot of people do this. We give you a gift. You want to be a guest on our podcast? February 2nd, today is $147. However, we give you a $100 hotel savings card. No strings attached. Free to use it at, I don't know how many millions of hotel rooms around the world. I have used these cards for years. You get a better deal. You go to a secure website where you type in because one card, it's numbered, so it's only for you, not anybody else. And you can see the savings you get on a particular hotel. It's better than using some of those other larger name places because they buy big blocks. These guys have a bigger buying power because it's a membership site. So for me, I belong to this site, and then I pass on these savings cards to whomever I choose. So that is a couple of ways that and it's not the old scariest words, right? Drag and drop. It's not one of these drag and drop things. You do have to think about it. Check out other people's podcasts to see maybe what their opening is like. What kind of music do they use? What do they set the tone for? And just there are some best practices to follow. One thing that we're implementing too, though, and that we hadn't for a while, is to have a waiver so that people, they do have to sign saying, yes, I agree that you can use this podcast however you choose. and make sure it's accessible for people. Encourage people to leave a review. Sometime another good idea is, let's say you have had a lot of guests on your podcast. Go back to those guests and say, you know what? We're revisiting and we're going to introduce these episodes. We're going to republish them. We're going to send them out again. And hey, you know what? Would you like? Would really help us if you could leave a review, so we can continue to provide this great service. Most people will, because a lot of guests that we have are also podcast hosts, so they know what the scoop is. You have to ask. People aren't just going to do it. And if you have to bribe them with a gift card, like we do with the hotel savings card, to say as a thank you, it's okay. Why not? Right? So I think that's kind of where I am with the podcast.
So I want to do some things here. So I'm going to follow Joy's instruction. I had two URLs on the screen. This one, www.yourultimatelife.ca. There's a gift there. It doesn't cost you any money.
Nope.
But it is the 5 master keys to creating your ultimate life. And what do I mean by that? That's not just some words. It's a life you love every day. We have created that. We've been at this now together for going on 17 years. And it's wonderful. And we get to do it, and we get to meet people like you. I had another URL earlier. So if you want to learn what I know about creating a life of your dreams and making money doing what you love, go get that. And if you don't go get it, then maybe you don't want to create that. Yourultimatelife.ca. The other one I had up there was lovecoachsinem.com. And that's if you're a coach and you want to fill your practice. If it's you don't know how to network and you need to go find clients. Any activity where networking is important or you're looking to create clients, that challenge we're holding next week as we record this, but yours will be in April probably. Then you need to go there and take advantage of those things. Because our mission, here's the reason we're doing this. We're doing it because our commitment is to reach 250 million people this year to help them understand this message. The message is you can create any kind of life you want. You have to do the work, but you can have it. Yeah. So that's our call to action. I also ask you, subscribe, share this. When I meet people, and I meet several brand new people every week, I arrange my calendar and schedule to do that. I always ask them how I can help them, and I mean it. How can I serve you? And sometimes they give me stuff, and other times they say, well, I don't know. But they always ask back, how can I serve you? And my answer is always share the podcast. Think about whether or not you want to be a guest. Listen to some episodes and see if you say, I'd like to be one. To do that. And then, that is also a way, because having guests on my shows is a way that I can spread your message. And I love to do that. It's not just about mine. If I get to spread your message of hope, resilience, recovery, growth, then we all win.
And some people, I think, miss that. They say, I'm not paying a fee. Well, then don't, but I think, you get an audience. I mean, okay, there's lots of podcasts you can appear on for free. Go ahead. I mean, we do it too. We appear on, we sometimes pay, we sometimes don't pay. I mean, it depends on the podcast. However, you do find that when people pay or when people charge a fee, there is almost a contract that says, I will deliver these things in exchange for this production fee. I'll give you an audiogram. I'll give you custom graphics. I'll give you video clips. I'll give you the gift, hotel savings card. I'll give you I'll give you these things. So in some ways, we're held to a different I think a higher standard, because we do say that we're going to provide these items for you in exchange for this. Now, Kellan, you've been on some podcasts where you're a guest on it and you never hear from them again. It's like, did the episode go out? Where do I find it? Sometimes they're not even around anymore because the majority of podcasts fail. One is lack of consistency. If your peeps expect a podcast on Tuesday morning, then they expect a podcast on Tuesday morning. If they expect a podcast on Friday, they expect what they expect, and you need to deliver. So that's especially important when you are in production and creating this podcast. So we do that. We deliver it. We give our guests all the material, anything they could possibly. We can't force them to share it, but we certainly give them all the opportunities to do so. Now, here's one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to all these guests and say, hey, I know you were a guest and we gave you all these great things. Did you leave a review? If you've left a review, thank you. If you haven't left a review, here's a hotel savings card. Actually, even before that, saying if you do that, we'll send you this savings card and just send us a snapshot. We know that you've left a review. We'd really appreciate it to help us grow and to help us be able to create better material, maybe do other things. There's, whatever. Everybody needs reviews. So if you like it, share it. But I think a lot of people are busy today. So, I mean, I'm like that. Sometimes you think, oh, yeah, I got to share this. And then, you get busy, something else, the cat throws up, whatever it is, and then you just forget. So those reminders are good. And I think that's one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. We'll have one of my team members go back to all these people and say, hey, leave a review.
Joy, I want to thank you for being on the show today.
Wonderful. I always enjoy myself. Is it that time already? Oh my gosh.
We're actually quite long. So
wow.
It's good. 35.
Extra.
Yeah, extra.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So as we go forward, I'm going to have my co-host Joy on quite often, and we might even do three-way things where I bring on other guests too. I usually do those individually.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, especially when we're talking maybe to stuff like AI or tech or, well, who knows what, right? I think what I know when I listen to podcasts that have a co-host, even though they talk over top of each other and they're laughing, it's like a party, right? It's sort of like the more the merrier. And it just adds a level of energy that perhaps you don't get when it's just one person. So yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Go back and listen a couple of times. Joy's given you a lot of stuff that she has learned by belonging to and implementing the instructions of a lot of successful people. If you want more, you can reach out. Go to the websites that I gave you. Take advantage of what we're offering to help you grow your business, build your happiness, expand your gifts, and to create your ultimate life.
Open your heart and this time around.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope that you take it deeply into your heart and decide for yourself how you can create anything you desire. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback and topic suggestions. Until tomorrow, this is Your Ultimate Life with host Kellan Fluckiger.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet